Water is strange stuff. It is formless and transparent, and yet we long to be beside it. It has no taste, and yet we love the taste of it. We will travel great distances and pay small fortunes to see it in sunshine. Bill Bryson. During the last ice age, which ended around 10,000 years ago, glaciers covered much of Wisconsin. The most recent advance, known as the Wisconsin glaciation, shaped the landscape significantly into what it is today. Glaciers often left behind depressions, known as kettle lakes or kettle ponds, when they melted. These depressions were formed by chunks of ice left behind by retreating glaciers, which became buried in sediment and later melted, leaving behind bowl-shaped depressions that filled with water. One such lake is known today as Druid Lake. In the pre-colonial days of America, southeastern Wisconsin was home to the native tribes of the Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Ojibwe peoples. These tribes, along with others, had complex social structures, cultural practices, and economies that were deeply connected to the land and natural resources of the region. Lakes, rivers, and streams were used for resource gathering, as well as waypoints for trails and camps. These tribes shaped the cultural and historical landscape of what is now Hartford. The arrival of Europeans to the Americas in 1492 would change not only the geographical landscape, but the cultural landscape. Native tribes occupied the area around Druid Lake until as late as 1845. The last Native American to remain in the region after the Indian Removal Act of 1830 was Chief Monches of the Potawatomi tribe. The neighboring town still bears his name in tribute to this day. The next group that would take up residence on the land would be the Irish. In 1695, the British Parliament established a series of penal laws on the Irish. These rules were created to suppress the Catholics in order to make sure they did not rise above the British power. These rules included that Catholics were forbidden to purchase land, they could not hold office or serve as jurors, or teach school. No Bill of Rights or freedom of the press for Ireland. No Catholic could vote for municipal or national office. The penal laws prevented all Irish exports, except people. In 1831, the failure of the Irish potato crop fueled the beginning of the exodus to America. During this time, Wisconsin had abundant government land for sale and promoted its availability. In 1846, the Wisconsin Territorial Legislature officially created the town of Erin in Washington County and began selling land for a whopping $2.50 an acre. Luckily for the new settlers, the land was very fertile, and many of the farmers began growing grains and vegetables that could be stored through the winter in hillside dugouts. The abundance of maple trees allowed them to make maple sugar to be used as a sweetener. The land in the northern part of Erin is broken into undulations. The hilly southeastern part of the town has the highest altitude in the long range of hills stretching in a northeasterly direction across Washington County toward the Green Bay Peninsula. In 1926, the highest point among these clusters would become the celebrated Holy Hill Church. By 1879, Erin had all the makings of a new town: a church, school, post office, and most importantly, a tavern. The Tally-Ho Tavern, known today as JC's Corner Grill, was the first established place of business in the town of Erin. In the northwest corner of Erin, there was a lake known as Mud Lake. In 1914, the lake and the land around it was put up for sale by the retiring John and Julia Benson. It was purchased by John C. Russell, who decided to develop a subdivision on Mud Lake for summer cottages and recreation. With John's love of Celtic history and knowledge of Irish lore, he decided to give the lake a more attractive name. In 1926, he proceeded to legally change the name of the lake to Druid Lake, after the ancient Druids of pre-Christian Ireland. In 1926, the first lots were sold to Adolf Vogelsang and Dr. Greg Hoffman. The Vogelsang property is still owned by the family to this day. By the end of World War II, improvements were made in roadways, and the United States saw a boom in automobile culture. More people were looking for summer recreational homes, and Druid Lake began to grow in population. In the contemporary world of documenting, studying, and analyzing, many features of Druid Lake have been recorded. Druid Lake is located in what is known as the Ashuappan River watershed and is considered a deep lowland lake. The lake covers approximately 122 acres. 21% of the lake is under 3 feet of water, and 62% of the lake is over 20 feet of water. The average depth of the lake is 25 feet, with the deepest point reaching 53 feet. The lake bottom is comprised of 30% sand, 10% gravel, and 60% muck. Druid Lake is a public lake. The public boat landing sees visitors for a variety of activities year-round. Over 75 homes currently reside on the 2.3 miles of shoreline. Druid Lake is home to several fish species, including panfish, walleyes, largemouth bass, northern pike, and carp. Asian carp, particularly the silver and bighead carp species, have been a concern in Wisconsin lakes and waterways due to their potential to disrupt ecosystems and outcompete native fish species. Luckily, the residents of Druid Lake have worked to keep the population down with the annual Carp Fest, during which residents compete to catch the longest, heaviest, and largest quantity of carp. In addition to the invasive carp, Druid Lake also has to deal with several species of plants that are not native to the region. Purple loosestrife, a plant that originated in Eastern Europe and Western Asia, was brought to the United States in the 1800s. It was widely planted ornamentally, where it escaped to nearby waterways, allowing it to invade. Purple loosestrife chokes out native plants and destroys ecosystems. Luckily, the residents of Druid Lake and volunteers from Hartford High School have battled the pesky plants since the 90s and helped keep the spread under control. In addition, the Druid Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District is a volunteer group focused on lake management in order to enhance, preserve, and protect the quality of our waters. They help keep the lake stocked with fish, keep the water clean, and the residents safe. Although fighting these invasive species continues to be a challenge for the lake residents, a 2017 report by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources stated the following, quote, "New total phosphorus and chlorophyll A sample data were clearly below the 2018 WISCOM listing thresholds for the recreation use and the fish and aquatic life use. This water was meeting these designated uses and was not considered impaired." End quote. All this is to say that scientifically, Druid Lake has excellent aquatic life and is, quote, "in excellent general condition." Druid Lake sees a variety of activities year-round. Like most lakes in Wisconsin, boating, swimming, and fishing are quintessential summer pastimes. The lake has seen its share of boat parades and tie-ups over the years. In the fall, things begin to slow down and prepare for winter. Ice fishing, skating, and snowmobiling are, weather permitting, a common occurrence in the winter months, and you always know when spring is around the corner, as it's not uncommon to see someone water skiing the first day the ice is off the lake. Community. What is a community? Author Bell Hooks once wrote, "What matters is that should difference enter the world of beloved community, it can find a place of welcome, a place to belong." Druid Lake is just a body of water. There is nothing intrinsically magic about it. However, it is something this whole community shares. Right outside everyone's door is a shared space that brings us all together. Around the lake, campfires and stories are shared together. Children learn to swim and ski. Fishing stories are born. Houses become homes. Plants are grown, birds are watched, meals are shared, and laughs are had all around this one binding body of water. We are all stewards of this land, this body of water. Druid Lake will continue to foster memories for generations to come.